941, welcome back. Senator Marco Rubio has been vocal after yesterday's mass shooting in Parkland. I spoke with him this morning and asked him about new gun laws, which he says aren't necessarily the answer.
We should not argue that that would have prevented what happened, because it wouldn't. It's not fair and it isn't true.
I'm just reiterating what the parents on the ground say after another mass shooting happens. That is the first thing they start saying to us as reporters when we're out there is something needs to change at the federal level, and you are one of the people to do that. What specifically will you do to make sure another mass shooting does not happen in this country next month?
Well, I will support anything that would have prevented a mass shooting. The problem is that a mass shooting involving one individual is a multifaceted problem. It is not just access to a weapon. I don't know if it's been reported this morning, but as far as the moment I walked in here, it's still not clear how he gained access to this weapon. More importantly, it's not clear what social services he was receiving. There's reports that he was involved in mental health care up until about a year ago, that his mother died in November. So all of those issues have to be dealt with. So you're asking, what can we pass at the federal level that would have prevented what happened yesterday? And my answer is we need to know everything of what happened yesterday before we can begin to prescribe answers that would have led to a solution.
And Senator, we do know that he did legally obtain that gun, which unfortunately happens quite often when we see these sort of shootings. Senator, I want to ask you though, these public
that's
schools.
The point. He legally obtained it. Basically, that means he underwent a background check, which is one of the proposals that's here, and he passed it, because background checks can only tell you what someone's done in the past. They cannot predict what someone is capable of in the future.
Correct. So the question being, what laws can be changed to make this even more difficult for people that could potentially do these sort of mass shootings, even though they illegally obtain the gun? I want to ask you, though, before you go, about mental health. What can we do with What can we do with mental health in our schools? You know, social media has radically changed the high school environment. We do all these stories on cyberbullying and what this new world is like for millennials and for these students in high school. What sort of federal effort can we see when it comes to mental health in this country, specifically with high school age kids?
Well, again, I think more federal resources could be made available, and I've supported that even before yesterday for mental health services to be provided. But ultimately, the challenge with mental health services is, unless in Florida you Baker Act someone, you can't make them mandatory. So there was some press reporting yesterday that this man was involved in mental health care up until about a year ago, was potentially medicated. At some point, however, you can't make it's voluntary. You cannot make that obligatory unless there's a Baker Act or an intervention of that kind, which of course is governed under state law. And that's why mental health, in this situation, it appears he was expelled. What happened after he was expelled, what mandatory services he was required to undergo, what treatment he was under, we don't know that. We'll learn that over the next few days, and perhaps from that there'll be more guidance, including what kind of information should be part of someone's background check when they try to go buy a gun, is whether some of that should have been a part of the background check.
And Senator, what's your message to the families this morning?
I honestly, I just can't envision the pain that they're feeling. I've got two kids in high school myself, and the first thing one thinks of, and I know it's cliche-ish, is, you know, what if that would have happened at their school? What would my feelings be like? And even for the children that weren't physically harmed, I think the psychic harm of having gone through this and having seen this and the trauma of it will make it very difficult over the next few weeks and months. And obviously, you know, our thoughts are with them. Our job here is to, number one, make sure all the resources are available to assist them and their families. And number two, to see what we can do to ensure that this doesn't happen again, understanding what a difficult problem it is to solve.
All right, Senator Rubio, thank you for your time.
Thank you.